Welcome to the Success Monologue. I'm Todd Reinhardt. This is a show about you. In fact, the next few days, I want to focus on how precious you really are. I want you to feel more in touch with life, realize your value, and fire you up to embrace your life. Now, you think of yourself as being born in such and such a year, when, in fact, you should be thinking of yourself in terms of billions of years in the making. It's impossible to fathom the incredible fortune that you have to exist at all. Now, for example, say 15,000 years ago, if one person turned, say, left instead of right, and they met their fate as a result, you wouldn't be here. Your history, your lineage is riddled with examples of little tiny changes that would have resulted in you not being here. The meaning of life comes into play here. People turn to philosophers with the most common question: what is the meaning of life? Well, the answer is there isn't one. To say there's a meaning to life is to say that it comes with a built-in meaning. And to accept that premise is to say that someone or something endowed life with that meaning. No, life doesn't have such a built-in inherent meaning. But with that said, all is not lost. It does have a meaning because we give it meaning. And this is a very important aspect of your life. Most people give life meaning through their family, work, hobbies. Others, their love for nature, beautiful art, and soul-lifting literature. And over the next few days, as we consider the value of your life, its true value, and attempt to strengthen your connection to a zest for life, living, and making the most of your brief opportunity on this earth, you must consider how to give your life more meaning. Now, another critical, and I'd say even more important aspect to all of this is the purpose of life. Our nature, the reality of the world we live in, dictates a purpose for each and every one of us. This purpose, therefore, unlike meaning, it's built in, it's inherent, it's germane to who we are. It's not just any old purpose. But to see this purpose in its full light, it has to be called what it is. It's a moral purpose, and that purpose is to be happy. Happiness is knowledge. It's knowing something. It's not a feeling. It has a feelings component, but it's not what it's all about. It's about what you know. And what is that? It's knowing you're honoring your nature and you're living well in this world. When you know what it means, you've discovered your values and translated them consistently into action, or virtues, because that's what virtues are. They're your values in action. And when you live your values, and you know that you're living your values, it's part of your psychological nature to enjoy that particular piece of knowledge in a very, very special way. Because your body and your mind are one thing, one interrelated system. Your body will generate an exquisite physiological or bodily feeling, and that feeling abides with you through thick and thin. This reaction is emotional, and that emotion is happiness. The Success Monologue is about making your life worth living. I try my best to give you the knowledge and the perspective that helps you help yourself to make your life wonderful. Ground zero of such a wonderful, fulfilling, prosperous, and love-filled life is your body. And more specifically, it's how you use that body in time. Think of time and life as interchangeable words. So when you're using your time wisely, you're using your life wisely. Another factor is quality. A healthy body increases the quality of that time and life. So taking care of your body, it may not give you any extra time, but it certainly does increase the quality. And it allows us to make better use of our time while we're alive. We'll work and play and love with more energy and focus and intensity when we're fit. We've all heard these strange, rare stories of someone, maybe you have an uncle. You hear these stories about people who live long and healthy life while they're smoking and drinking and eating greasy, unhealthy food. But make no mistake, the statistics don't line up with these stories. And it's sad when people use these stories to make excuses, to create a mind-created mysticism that just damages their life, damages their happiness. No, healthy lifestyles lead statistically to longer and more quality lives. And as you discover your mysticisms and smash them, and as you move toward making your mind and body healthier, you will want to live life more fully. I'm shocked when I ask mystics if they'd like to live forever. Almost to a man they say, no. It's almost horrifying to them. But when I ask a dynamic, prosperous, and happy person if they would like to live forever, invariably they say yes. This is a very powerful and personal question. Is your life such that you'd want to extend it? Because we can't live forever with today's technology, this is just a philosophical question, a think piece. But it's a window into our psyche, and it's helpful and useful for that purpose alone. So if you could, would you want to live forever? How much do you value your life? How well are you living your life? Are you living a challenging, wonderful, and daring adventure? Philosophers succeed when they change perspectives. So take on this perspective. Imagine you're on your deathbed looking back. Did you keep your body healthy so you could enjoy every moment with your loved ones? Are you filled with regrets because you succumbed to fear? Did you allow silly habits, stupid people, or laziness to cloud the true beauty and purpose of life? Did you allow the cheaters to fool you? There's nothing wrong with spending a few minutes in this perspective. It's not morbid. It clears your head. It focuses us because a temporary educational shift in perspective can often give us a beat on our mysticisms and the impetus to smash them. Now, tomorrow, I want to bring other factors to the attention of your mind that will help you shake off the feelings of boredom, lack of direction, and purposelessness of life. If we're going to be successful, I truly believe that the ideas I share with you tomorrow are crucial, so don't miss the show. No topic is more important than you. This is your life. And this week, let's all stop, give our heads a shake, and refresh and renew our perspective. Let's make the key decision. Again, let's renew this. Let's embrace the one single thing that will impact all the others. Let's decide to love our life. I'm Todd Reinhardt. This is the Success Monologue. Thanks for listening. Welcome to the Success Monologue. I'm Todd Reinhardt. Big show planned today. Lots to cover, so that means I'm going to have to talk fast. And you'll have to listen fast. Life goes through phases. As with any time in life, how we view life, our nascent basic philosophy, it determines a lot of our experience. Do we have dreams? Are we hopeful? Are we negative or positive? Do we even have the ability to experience the joy of living? Are we anticipating what life has to bring us? As we age, though, these effects that stream from our view of life, from our nascent philosophy, our general attitude, these effects become more obvious and amplified as we get older. Sure, a middle-aged person can let go of their dreams, and too many do, but as someone gets old, they're much more likely to give up. Today, I want to continue the discussion from yesterday about valuing our life, and not only getting back the zest for living, the adventure, but truly valuing it and wanting to increase the quality of our life and health. And today I want to raise the specter of even lengthening our life. The focus of today's Success Monologue is about specific steps that lead to the reversal of the process where we get old, lose hope, become more negative. I want to make it clear today that as we age, we still can live life with zest and anticipation. We've all bought into this mystical, mind-created notion that is not true at all, that it's necessary that we get old, we lose our hope, we become negative, give up, and no longer anticipate life. We're convinced that the final few years of our life have these features. We're convinced that death is drawing near, and that means our future's shrinking. It's a mysticism to say it's better to be young than old. The reality is that age can be a great asset. In your final few years, you have the tools and the means to continue growing as a person. You have experience and perspective. You have knowledge. A lot of the things that distract you when you're younger aren't there. You know how to avoid pitfalls. But you can still enjoy richly rewarding romantic love. You can have friendship love, love of family, and you can have intellectual love. You can continue to enjoy the theater, literature, and other hobbies. Succumbing to the mysticism of ageism needlessly wastes a huge chunk of life. A part of your years it can be as rewarding and rich as any other part of your life. What stops people from enjoying life at this age is a mysticism. And this mysticism does another thing. Because we just accept death as inevitable, it stops us from going into a critical area of research. And before I get into this, I just want to tell you a quick story. At the time of this recording, I'm 50. My grandfather has been dead for 35 years. He was a senior citizen when we went to the moon. He couldn't get his mind around going to the moon. When he was a kid, they used horse and buggy. I knew someone who used a horse and buggy. And if you just go back one generation to his dad, if you would have walked up to his dad in 1869 and said, in a century, we're going to go to the moon. Your son is going to see men walking on the moon and then coming back. Well, he just would have dismissed you outright, called you crazy, shut the conversation down. There is no way he could have conceived of this. There were too many layers of knowledge and discovery between where he was and the moon landing. There were no cars in 1869, let alone airplanes, let alone rockets, let alone going to the moon. You see what I mean by too many layers? The concept was impossible. But what was the reality? If humanity shared my great-grandfather's mystical idea that we could never go to the moon, then we never would have gone to the moon. Someone had to smash that mysticism. This is another change in perspective that I'm asking you to take. Further to this, you can imagine someone going back to Leonardo da Vinci and handing him a smartphone. Now, as smart as Da Vinci was, he still couldn't have imagined it. There were too many layers of knowledge for even Da Vinci to figure it out. There was no electricity, let alone a telegraph, let alone a telephone, let alone computers and a smartphone. Now back to my original point. I would never speculate on the technology that would enable people to live hundreds of years, thousands, or forever. I could say we would have to find a way, if we were going to be successful, a way to preserve what we could call I-ness, or the ability to self-actualize, know who you were, continue to grow and become someone who is chasing and fulfilling dreams, loving and living and accomplishing just as you do now. I would speculate that it would probably be a profit-driven venture. But I know this much. If we hold on to a mysticism that we have to age and die, then yes, indeed, we would never accomplish this goal. We've already done so much. We've extended our life. Better food, better medicine. There's nutrition. And we're learning to live in a more optimized way. We're learning to appreciate the value of safety, rest, water, exercise. Ever so slowly, we're giving up our bad habits. So we are extending our life. But the layers and layers of knowledge and technology between us now and a future where we live forever, from our vantage point right now, those things seem insurmountable. I also believe we'll never create the optimal conditions for living long or even eternal lives until we bring an end to the body-destroying stress that comes from internal mysticisms. It's well known and well documented that stress does deteriorate the mind and body. Stress also leads people to do things that are harmful to them, thus doing further damage to the mind and body. Mysticism is the opposite of reality. It pits us against our own nature, and this constant source of conflict is a mind and body destroying stress. It's even mysticism that stops us from advancing the science of biological immortality. It's my hope that the concepts that you learn in the Success Monologue will forever keep you young and help you realize you don't have to get old and lose the pleasures of life. You don't have to become sour You don't have to become a grumpy old man. You don't have to surrender. You don't have to take on this attitude that I'm waiting for death. You don't have to sacrifice yourself and your career and your hopes and dreams. Your happiness does not have to fade. I have some closing thoughts on this, but we'll pick it up again tomorrow. I'm Todd Reinhardt. This is the Success Monologue. Thanks for listening. Hi, it's Todd Reinhardt, the Success Monologue, Season 2. This is episode number 84. I don't usually mention that, but today I have to, because you really should listen to the previous show. I rolled out a concept that we're going to continue dealing with today. We were talking about the science of extending human life. And since you shouldn't walk into the middle of this conversation, if you missed the last Success Monologue, you should try and catch up. Then come back and listen to this one. I was talking about how for almost everyone, the pleasures of life diminish with age. Not just sexual, non-sexual ones as well. I was saying how sad and unnecessary that was. The way we look at life changes. It becomes more negative. Psychological changes happen. The end of the road becomes closer and closer. And sadly, despair sets in. I was trying to make the point that there's no need to surrender. And people surrender in different ways. They surrender to a mindset, the mystical come to God myth, or the idea that they should sacrifice themselves and their careers and their whole lives to make room for youth. And once that psychological, that philosophical surrender occurs, happiness begins to wane. There's no need for pleasure, even sexual pleasure, to diminish with age. I make the Success Monologue because I want you to have the philosophical ideas and the science of achievement so you can stop that decline towards death and rather have a very different view of the final years, where you're continually elevating your quality of life, your capacity to intellectually and emotionally grow, bring more pleasure, more satisfaction into your life. And these pleasures, especially sexual ones, they don't just happen spontaneously. You have to work at it, conscientiously bring them into your life. But that process can't begin if you surrender. You can continue to build values, create values, earn more personal power with the years as they go by. The ideas you hear in the show allow you to embrace a new mindset, one where life is valued far more supremely. It's a never-aging growth mentality. It's a new level of consciousness. Your body, your mind, and your philosophy can grow. There is a new way to look at age, and it's a way that is filled with pleasures and joy and growth and values and life. It's mystical to think that you need to make room for the next generation. There's no need to surrender to that mysticism. There's plenty of room. We will solve these problems. Look at the population growth over the last century. If we made food today the way we did 100 years ago, yes, there'd be a food problem. But now we grow 17 times more food on 3% more land. Science found a way. Before high-rise buildings, space was a problem. Again, science solved the problem. And there's another mysticism. This is just the order of things that people die. Well, consciousness itself is not the order of things. This is something we invented. We left the ancient bicameral mind behind, and through consciousness, took up a new way to take on personal responsibility, personal power, personal growth. We can change the order of things, and it's moral to embrace your life, because the standard for morality is conscious human life. Yes, it's true. The science that would make biological immortality possible is, well, it's very far out of reach, but not totally out of reach. For the time being, we can do the things that adds quality to our life. And if you're young listening to this, you could be thinking, what does this have to do with me? Young people mistakenly get this mystical idea into their head. Almighty Time removes this mystical idea. But young people tend to think of themselves as invincible. But it's in youth you can begin to pick up the habits that stave off a lot of the degenerative diseases that old people face. Choices made in youth, habits picked up in youth, can pay huge dividends as we get older, on top of adding benefits now. You're precious, valuable, and you're good. There is no reason why you can't continue into old age being inventive and creative and an adder of value. The reason we step away from that is all mystical. Don't let an old person move into your body. And tomorrow I want to wrap this up with something amazing. If you do want to embrace life, there are things you can do right now. I'll be rolling out some of the best suggestions from key areas of study. What can we learn about living a richer life in old age from the science of achievement, areas of health, general habits, philosophy, and a few other sundry topics? I'm Todd Reinhardt, and I'm looking forward to sharing these ideas with you tomorrow on the Success Monologue. Thanks for listening. It's the Success Monologue. Todd Reinhardt, very excited about today's show. Great stuff ahead. We've been talking about facing the mysticisms that allow us to rationalize our surrender to the myths of old age. We actually make sense of not making the most of our last seventh of life. And this is a discussion not just for the old, but for the young as well. Because, believe it or not, we're all headed there. Senior citizen or not, it's never too late to take on a new, rational and life-lifting view. This view is realistic. The way our society has come to look at old age is not realistic. It does not embrace life. And the shows these days are all about embracing life, seeing its true value, that all of life should be lived. It should be happy, productive, and filled with love. If you're young or old, you're going to hear specific things today that you can do to make sure your golden years are a time when you're vibrant, creative, and healthy. And they'll do the same for your life right now, no matter how old you are. Today I want to share some discoveries that are relevant to that goal. These are life-enhancing, they're life-embracing ideas from different fields of study that, when you combine these ideas, produce a powerful result, a better, happier life, no matter how old you are, but especially if you're laboring under the mystical misconception that old age means an age of diminishment, surrender, and a grim march to decline and death. Some very interesting people, especially in the last 50 years, have asked the question, why are some people more successful than others? And they've spent their entire life studying that one simple question, and has given rise to a new field called the science of achievement. The most important discovery made in the last 50 years in this field is self-image. Self-image is simply how we see ourselves. It's not how we are, it's how we see ourselves, which is usually wrong. Our broader self-image is made up of a group of other smaller self-images. For example, you have a self-image about what kind of golfer you are, even if you don't golf. Ditto for driving, cooking, your level of health, and yes, even how you view old age. And here's the key discovery. As I mentioned, most of these self-images are incorrect. They're not in harmony with reality, and you cannot live outside the scope of your self-image. I repeat, you can't live outside the scope of your self-image. So change your self-image, and you change your capabilities. I bring this up because we have a self-image of ourselves as old people, and we've been dealing with that self-image for the last few days. Become keenly aware that you can change that self-image. The second lesson from the science of achievement is related to the first. How can we change our self-image? Now, this second point helps us do that, but it does a whole lot more. Just for a minute, imagine you're running through the jungle, you're being chased by a wild animal. If you stop and think about it, every split second your brain is taking in millions of pieces of information. We suffer under the illusion that our brain is ignoring all of this information, but it's taking it all in. We see every shade of green on every blade of grass. Not only are we maneuvering as we go through the jungle, we're jumping over logs, avoiding rocks, ducking for overhead branches. Now, why do I mention this? Your brain sorts through the information you have coming at it all the time. If you saw everything all the time, smelled every smell, felt every feeling, well, quite simply, you'd freak out. And you certainly wouldn't get away from the animal that's chasing you. Your brain has a mechanism called the reticular cortex. It's about the size of your baby finger, and it's the grand central station of sorting information. We can survive because our brain has the ability to sort between what's important, what you need to know right now, and what's not important, what you don't need to know right now. The second thing I want to point out today from the science of achievement has everything to do with this reticular cortex, with your mind's ability to sort. Keep in mind this has everything to do with your subconscious mind. The lesson is you need to write your goals every day, and you need to write your desired attributes every day. The thing is, your subconscious doesn't speak English or any language, but it does pick up on the emotional side of your goals. That's why I recommend that people don't just write their goals, but create a scrapbook. Vibrant, lively pictures of what you want to bring into your life, how you see yourself. Even images that reflect a change in attitude and changes in your self-image. So you see yourself as sexy, creative, vibrant, healthy, lively, participating in life, and continuing to embrace that all-important aspect of every healthy human life, and that is to be productive. I think the loss of sexuality and productivity in old age is a tragedy, a needless tragedy. When you write your goals, you need to signal to your subconscious that you're talking to it. The first word is I am, or I will, or I this, or I that. And it has to be a positive statement. Studies have found that saying something like I will quit smoking doesn't cut it. I am a non-smoker is more like it. Get the idea? Here's how it works, and this is proven. Let's say a person writes a goal, I want a red sports car. Guess what happens? Suddenly, they start seeing red sports cars everywhere. Is it some kind of magical coincidence that suddenly there's more red sports cars? No. This is an example of how the reticular cortex works. It's an example of how we can program it. It's an example of how goal writing works every time. Goal setting isn't magical. It sets our priorities. It tells our reticular cortex what we're focused on. It puts a powerful force at play in our life, driving us toward our goals. We begin to use our time and resources in such a way that we continually move toward them. And that's how and why goal setting works. Examine your self-image. Line it up with your new sense of life. A sense that truly values every minute of every day of every year. And resolve to take control of your self-image. Now, tomorrow I'm going to talk about health, but one final thought that we've learned from the science of achievement. It sounds trite because we hear it all the time, but it's so powerful I have to say it. It has to do with the grumpy old man syndrome. It's so easy as we age to become cynical, negative, to surrender. If we want to be flying high through our senior years, no single attribute will determine how high you fly, or your altitude, then your attitude. There's one of your goals. I have a positive mental attitude. I only allow a happy, positive mental state in my mind. Your attitude more than your aptitude determines your altitude, and that's a truth for young and old alike. Take a long, hard look at your self-image. Resolve to write your goals every day. Get emotional about them. Get that scrapbook going on. Feel it. Correct the subroutines in your mind that are holding you back, that are allowing you to buy into the mysticism of ageism. Identify each one of them and smash them. And no matter how old you are, there's no substitute for a positive attitude. And I've got more tomorrow, but we're out of time. Thanks for listening to the Success Monologue. I'm Todd Reinhardt. Welcome to the Success Monologue. I'm Todd Reinhardt, and I want you to find and capture your personal power. Welcome to the program. In the last few shows, I've been talking about the most important topic imaginable, your life. Isn't it incredible how many people don't value their life? They just don't see how truly precious it is? If you find it hard to fathom that, just take the walk down the beach test. The next time you're on the beach, go for a little walk and do a little recon for this test. You're going to notice something. You'll see, guaranteed, that most people over 35 have just given up. It shows in their hair, how they present themselves, but most importantly, in their body. Their bodies are an indication of their opinion of themselves, or more specifically, how they value their life itself. When somebody sees themselves getting physically healthy, that's when you know they've turned the corner. In the last show, I talked about the science of achievement, the inner game. And when your outer game starts to catch on, take it seriously and begins to live it, you'll see that first in the body. You may have goals. You may want to be there for your kids and grandkids. You may just want to do a bunch of things that are on your bucket list, but none of this is possible if your physical body can't do it. If it's sickly, if it just doesn't have the strength and flexibility it needs. So decide to take care of your body, to get healthy. And today there's no excuse for any of us, not any of us. We can know how to eat right and get the right nutrition and to take care of our bodies. With the internet, we can study all of this stuff. You probably know somebody that eats right. Tell them you want to eat right too. Healthy people are overjoyed to share their knowledge. But start today. Start today. Vow right now you're not going to eat any more unhealthy food. Because eating good food isn't just about eating good food. It's also about avoiding bad food. Yes, good food moves you in the right direction, but bad food moves you in the wrong direction. And what's bad food? Well, rule of thumb, processed food. Stop eating processed food. Stop eating processed food. Eat whole foods. Avoid the inner aisles and start shopping around the outer edge of the store. It's the fresh, whole fruits and vegetables. It's the lean meats. Use the internet to become a student of healthy food. You're not alone. There's plenty of help out there. For example, get to know a nutritionist. Sure, you can meet one online, but good odds there's one in your city. So get to know a nutritionist. They're knowledgeable. An accredited nutritionist, if they know your age, gender, your health needs, can help you make the right investments in your nutrition. Whatever you do, don't start at your local pharmacy and pick up these processed vitamins. You can't metabolize those. Get proper vitamins and supplements from a nutrition store. And be aware of your health needs. For example, I'm a 50-year-old man. So I take supplements that fortify my prostate and naturally stimulate my body to make testosterone for energy and focus, muscle tone, which brings me to my final point today on the topic of health. There are a lot of great programs out there like Beachbody, but there are others, and your local gym could also help you out. Work your body. Remember the 4 areas, and they're all critical. Exercise isn't just about strength. Yes, resistance training is vitally important. Learn how to do it properly and safely. But don't forget that stretching, such as yoga, is a vital part of your body's overall ability to be strong. Your life is so much easier when you're strong and flexible. And don't forget core training. Your head, arms, and legs all connected to your core. Focus on that. And finally, cardio. Your strength, flexibility, and your core all come together when you have a strong heart and circulatory system. So remember the big 4: strength, stretching, abs, and cardio. Get to know your nutritionist and start today. Vow to eat no more unhealthy food. Avoid sugars and garbage. You know what I'm talking about. Begin today. You'll feel like you've started a whole new life. Plan great meals around whole foods. Don't just think about your health. Do it. Prove to yourself you truly value your one and only precious life by getting in shape today. Let's continue this topic tomorrow by extending it into great life habits tomorrow. I'm Todd Reinhardt. This is the Success Monologue. Thanks for listening. The Success Monologue. I'm Todd Reinhardt. Hi there. The discussion continues about valuing life. It's very common in our busy world to feel that we're just too busy, too harried to stop and smell the roses, as it were. Life is just too frenzied. If you're feeling like that, I hope today's show can be helpful. If you're feeling like your life is a tornado, if you're discouraged, or if you just feel like your life has fallen down and can't get up, I think today's show is essential. Aristotle said we are what we habitually do. Excellence, then, he said, is not an act, but a habit. Confucius said men's natures are alike. It's their habits that separate them. When our life is in need of repair, and we feel like we don't know where to begin, attending to the issue of our habits is the place where you start. And if we start with the analogy that your life is like a building, and of course a building needs a solid foundation and a sound structure, and we know that the building, everything inside of it, rests on, relies on, and is built on that foundation and structure, we can ask, what is the fundamental structure and foundation of our life? Well, we're not buildings. We are human beings. And if you want to start your life in a new direction, get it back up on its feet, start with the rhythm of your life. These rhythms are the structure on which everything else rests. It almost sounds silly to say them because they're so basic. And the first one is sleep. How many people allow their sleep rhythm to get screwed up on the weekend? And then they have to spend the first few days of the week getting out of that bad rhythm. Pick a bedtime and a wake-up time. And that single change will make a huge difference in your life. The other fundamental rhythm are meal times. Getting your sleep rhythms and your digestive system into a rhythm will make you feel better, more alert, and it's the sound foundation you can build the rest of your life on. And the trifecta of the great living habits is water. Drink plenty of water. If you're determined to live your life in such a way that you demonstrate to yourself and others that you value this one and only precious life, institute these great habits. Now, I'm going to mention some other fundamental habits that are rudimentary to a successful life. But first, a note about instituting habits in your life, turning them from desires into true habits. Science has proven that you can develop a habit in about 21 days. So institute these habits one at a time. Take 21 days to focus on that habit. Issue a challenge to yourself. Then log your progress while giving yourself rewards along the way. And of course, a big one at the end. Write your habit down and make it part of your goal setting. And if you fail, don't be so hard on yourself. Pick yourself up and just keep trying. Now, in no particular order, here are some great life habits. You ask most people about their bad habits, and usually the way they handle food is on the list. Make a habit of seeing food as nutrition. It's not a toy. It's not a way you comfort yourself. A great way to pick up this habit is to redirect yourself. When you find yourself reaching for food, reach into the job jar. Do a little task. Or exercise. Keep a dumbbell by your desk. Squeeze a stress ball. Go for a walk or do your hobby. Hobbies are great for this. But it's time to stop that bad habit of using food for comfort. Next, get into the habit of putting the first hour of your day to good use. Plan your day. Plan your activities. I'll do shows about time management, but for now, suffice it to say, make time management a top priority. It's a good habit to do the things you find undesirable first thing in the day. When you're managing your time, make your day what they call top-heavy. So there's a great habit. Be goal-oriented. And the way you make that process of being goal-oriented kinetic is to manage your time. And something related to this is simplification. Simplification is a great habit. It's the habit of identifying what's essential. Non-essential things in our life waste so much time and money. And you know what I'm talking about. If you feel like you're going crazy and your life is just too hectic, this is a great habit to take up. So identify the essentials. And one last thought about time management. Do your best to get a daily routine. Routine is not a bad thing. If you find what's essential and you do the same thing at the same time every day or every week, you'll find your life so much easier to manage. We're at the end, so I'll just say a few other habits quickly. But make no mistake, because I'm handling them quickly and putting them at the end, doesn't mean they're any less essential. Successful people have the habit of thinking positively. Believe it or not, that's a habit. You can choose how you think about things. Your fundamental view of life is in your hands. It's a choice. So be positive. It's a great habit. Next is a habit I talked about in the last show, and that is exercise. When you are identifying the essentials in your life, put exercise at the top of the list. And finally, be kind. Like being positive, kindness is a habit, a behavior habit. Also make it a habit every day to listen to the Success Monologue. There's more to say about valuing our life, but we'll leave that for tomorrow. I'm Todd Reinhardt. Thanks for listening. Hi, welcome to the Success Monologue. I'm Todd Reinhardt, and every Success Monologue really is about valuing life. But in the last few shows, we've been focused on your value of life itself. But that's what we've been focusing on specifically in the last few shows. Today, I'm going to wrap it up by shining the spotlight on the very things that make life worth living: love, happiness, which is the moral purpose of life, and prosperity. In the very first Success Monologue, the very first thing I said was that philosophy, our basic nascent philosophy, not only determines the direction of our life, but the direction of the world. I said how sad it is that most people have no interest in philosophy, and that's because it's so poorly taught. But when you're talking about philosophy, you're talking about what you think is wise over the long term. If we want to truly value life and embrace it, we must examine the nascent philosophy of this world, one that provides us the tools to rationalize an intellectual basis for a false and specious approach to life, one that's mystical, creates realities. If philosophy is a discussion of what's wise over the long term, nothing militates against that more than this rationalization to make up reality, to justify any irrational or unjust means to noble ends or higher causes. The world today is governed by a philosophy of dishonesty and laziness, and this is what I want to talk about today. We've talked about the health of your mind and body, but now I want to talk about the health of your philosophy, a philosophy that provides the tools that you can use to develop the knowledge necessary for guiding your life to unlimited prosperity, exquisite pleasures, and abiding happiness, a philosophy that provides the tools for meeting your needs, not just for surviving, but thriving. Tools that require effort, honesty, and rationality. The mystical philosophies of this world have developed techniques. They capture you, meaning they capture your interest and your confidence. It doesn't matter that these notions are false, but they take on an air of validity. They're misleading. They attack and obscure the value of the productive individual. But if we are ever to truly value life and capture our personal power, we must reject the mysticism of the philosophy of this world. We must first and foremost reject all false authorities, all external authority. They are all mystical. They are all mind-created. They are all false. The cornerstone of a philosophy of happiness, prosperity, love, success is to reject false authority, to reject mysticism, and to take up personal responsibility, to look life square in the eye with all logic and rationality. Because then and only then can you capture your own personal power, live life on your own terms, and truly be a benefactor for humanity. The philosophy of this world has led us to believe that strong societies are made up of first the group, and you are part of that group. But the opposite is true. Strong societies are made up of strong, independent, productive individuals. False authorities have a technique and a motive. Their motive is to live off your efforts. Their technique is to install mysticism into your mind and then use that mysticism to steal from you. And the key to this technique is altruism. And you can spot altruism. It attacks free enterprise, production, objective values, and it's pushed by envious altruists like powercrats, social intellectuals, theologians, lawyers, judges, academics, the media. they're envious, and this show spots them. It points them out. And if you're going to value your life, you need to kick these people out of your life. Stop looking to them as authorities. Their destructive views of the world, the mysticisms that they are installing into your thinking patterns have a common denominator. They make you feel guilty, and they make you destroy your own values, all in the name of a higher cause. If you are ever going to recognize the true value of your life, you have to render them powerless. These intentional value destroyers, the professional mystics, they look powerful, but they're really parasites, pushing envy and altruism. If every person took up their own personal power and lived responsibly and rationally, it would be the demise of every politician, social intellectual, media type, theologian, and every other cheating altruist and egalitarian who use you and steal from you. This is your life. Your values are created by you. You can know prosperity and happiness, but not if you're down in the mud with those hapless mystics and altruists. Right now the world's in their grip and they're causing a new dark age. But by saying no to them, you can wipe them out. By identifying the mysticism they've installed in your thinking patterns and then smashing those mysticisms, you can render all of those moochers impotent. The bedrock of philosophy is understanding the role of mysticism and altruism. The most moral application of philosophy is personal responsibility to take care of yourself, to be productive. This is the happiness approach to life. Productive actions that increase values to others and society while increasing effectiveness in dealing with reality. That's the opposite of mysticism. That's the opposite of laziness. And that's the opposite of altruism. Altruism is defined as the uncalculated transfer of human values, usually done in the name of some ethical principle or higher cause. Well, there is no higher cause than you. Than you realizing the value of your life. For far too long, people have been seduced by the failure and unhappiness approach. They've embraced altruism, which is destructive actions that decrease value to yourself and to society, while decreasing effectiveness in dealing with reality. Mysticism overtakes you, and you fall for the philosophy of self-sacrifice. And sacrifice occurs when a value is diminished or destroyed for a lesser value or a non-value. But when it comes to human sacrifice, the happiness approach is to refuse it. Refusal to sacrifice is, by its very nature, life-enhancing. It's creative, thus it's morally right. The unhappiness approach is to fall for the philosophy of sacrifice pushed by these false authorities, these hustlers, the ones who say that sacrifice is noble. Make sense of destroying yourself, especially if it's done for a higher cause, or better yet, no cause. This is highly immoral. It attacks, destroys, and undermines your value. It requires the use of force. It depends on the immoral idea of the ends justifying the means. But most of all, it depends on laziness and dishonesty. So live morally. Choose actions that purposely benefit you, so your mind and body are healthy, so you live well in the world. That's what's good and moral and right. And I'll close this off by revealing the method of living that is best for the human organism. You've heard a lot of things this week. You can begin to make a plan. This plan will tell you what to do if you want to live a life that is truly happy, one that shows you truly value your life. When you do those things, the right things, even when you don't feel like doing them, that's called discipline. The second part of this method of living is thinking. Always be thinking, but take a few minutes each day to think about the direction of your life, your philosophy, your goals, and what you want to do with your life. Think. Just think of it. If you take 20 minutes a day to sit quietly, think, and consider, you'll spend 7,300 minutes a year thinking in a world where most people don't think at all. Who do you think's going to have the advantage? And finally, realize that control is the essence of life. The first thing you have to realize when you take control is that you can't control everything, but you can control some things. You can control what goes in and out of your mouth. Mouth responsibility is the number one thing you can do to take control of your life. What you eat, what you say. These things are under your control. You can control your money, you can control your time. Now, things rarely go to plan, but That doesn't mean you can't plan. Control is the essence of life. And the method for living a life, if you want it to be happy, is discipline, thoughtfulness, and control. Now, the Success Monologue continues tomorrow, talking about your goals. I mentioned your goals in this section. Let's start taking a closer look at them. Meanwhile, carefully consider attending to the issue of your philosophy. I'm Todd Reinhardt. This is the Success Monologue. Thanks for listening. Hi there, it's Todd Reinhardt. Thanks for listening to this Success Monologue. Keep coming back. There's plenty more. I want you to have a rich and rewarding life. Make sure you jump into my website, splinterbook.com. That's splinterbook.com, and read my new book, The Splinter in Your Mind. Check it out. Thanks.